Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us at Face the State. It's 8:30. I'm Dennis House. We're so glad that you're with us. We go to the polls in less than 48 hours to choose a new governor, but you'll also be choosing a new state legislature. And who will win? Well, Republicans will tell you they're going to be controlling everything under the Golden Dome, and Democrats say no, they're going to maintain control. With us today, the majority leader for the Democrats in the House, Matt Ritter, and Ms. Klarides. She is the minority leader for Republicans. So thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I'll begin with you, Representative Klarides. Why do you think Republicans are going to take over the Senate and the House?
I think it's pretty clear that people in this state, and I have had the fortunate ability to go around the state for the past few months talking to people, businesses, small and large people, millennials, retirees, and they are sick and tired of what's going on in the state. They cannot afford to live here anymore. They certainly can't afford to retire here. Their kids can't come back because of the lack of jobs and affordability of housing in this state. And it's just enough is enough. People are sick of it. And they know that with the governor for the past 8 years that's a Democrat, and 41 of the past 43 years, the Democrats being in control of the legislature, they know that this hasn't happened overnight, but in the past 8 years, it's gotten worse.
So you last controlled the legislature in the 80s, right under when Reagan was president, correct?
Correct.
Representative Ritter, why do you think the Democrats are going to retain control?
I mean, look, House races are the ultimate local election from a state perspective, and you have a chance to knock on doors and talk to folks. So candidates are the #1 thing that drive House races, and we have better candidates. That's just the reality. We have people who are motivated by what's happening in Washington. They've been knocking on doors since last year. The enthusiasm, the quality of candidates that we have from 2 years ago is night and day. But I'll say something else. Some of the candidates on the other side are just not the kind of people that Connecticut voters want, particularly in local races. They're wrong on gun control. They're wrong on the environment. They're wrong on a woman's right to choose. They're wrong on health care issues. I'm not saying that's the entire Republican caucus, but there are about 5 to 10, maybe 20 Republican members of the legislature right now who are so right-wing that their day of reckoning is coming on Tuesday.
And who are their names? Just a couple.
I'll just say that I think if you look at races like Tolland, for example, some of the comments that have come out of that candidate's mouth around Charlottesville, for example, I don't think he'll win on Tuesday.
Well, that's the problem with the Democrats and the majority in the House and the Senate, is that they know they have a bad record, they can't run on it, so they'll do anything to divert attention. What's going on nationally is one thing, and that's certainly something that's important, but we all run for state offices, for the State House, the State Senate, and constitutional offices. And when I will not be beholden to what somebody that I have no control over is doing. But what I will be beholden to is the governor in this state. And when they have voted with him day after day, year after year, if you believe that Governor Malloy has done a bad job for this state, you must necessarily believe that a lot of the Democrats in the House and the Senate have done the same bad job because they had the ability to stop him and they chose not to.
Now, Representative Ritter, people are unhappy with Governor Malloy. Very, very low approval rating. People are moving out of the state. They do want change. So what is the argument that the Democrats who are in charge right now will be the agent of change?
Well, first of all, the governor's not running for re-election, so I think you need to talk about the future. But I'll just say this. The one thing that I've heard from the Republican platform, from Bob Stefanowski, is that he's going to eliminate the income tax. If he had said, you know, we should reduce middle-class tax rates, we should look at the income tax for middle-class earners, he would engage Democrats. Instead, he says, I'm going to get rid of $12 billion, which you can't do. We all know that. Even everyone in his own party knows that. And what he's really doing is giving away 65% of that tax cut is for people making more than $1 million a year. So he talks about middle-class values, and the only thing he's talked about the whole campaign is anti-middle class. He said the minimum wage shouldn't even exist. So you want families now struggling to have a lower minimum wage or no increase at any point in time while he's governor. Again, I'm not saying that all people are like this running for office, but more and more at the top of that ticket, you see more of a right-wing flair. That's not the Connecticut Republicans that I think people saw in 1984 when they controlled the House.
Representative Klarides, how will people's lives get better should they elect a Republican General Assembly?
Well, you have seen in the past 11 years, particularly last year, the Republicans in the legislature have put together budget after budget after budget. I believe 8 of them last year, with no tax increases and no tolls. Unfortunately, the majority leader mentions getting rid of the state income tax. We all understand that doing that in 1 year is not something that's realistic, but we also understand that Mr. Stefanowski's idea of lessening your tax burden, one of the highest tax states in the country, is something every single person in this state wants, and that is his goal. He's going to look at the tax policies and figure out how we can lessen the tax burden and certainly not add to it. The shame of it is, you look at the last 2 years, and you look at a tie in the Senate and a 5-vote difference in the House, and that is the only reason that last year we passed a spending cap for the first time since 1991 when the people of this state demanded it in a referendum question, a bonding cap, mandatory votes on union contracts, and we stopped 17 tax increases because they had no choice because they couldn't get their own budget passed for the first time almost in history.
For you to become Speaker, for the Republicans to take over, there's, what, 4 or 5 seats you need to pick up, correct? Which ones are those, and tell me why you believe those people will win.
Well, we have, I'm so proud of our candidates. We have Molly Spino in Torrington, who's a mom of 3 young children, who's a Marine, a veteran. We have Sean Mastriani in Eastern Connecticut. We have Ken Richards in Eastern Connecticut, Joe Yalman and Ansonia. We have so many wonderful candidates who are hardworking candidates that are in tune with what the message of the state of Connecticut and the people want.
And what about their opponents, Representative Ritter?
Yeah, and so the folks that I think are on our side that we're looking at for pickup seats, Steve Micketel from Voluntown is running again. Enfield, Tom Arnone has been a councilman. Christine Palm, Maria Horn, Elaine DeGraw, Gary Turco in Newington. We've expanded this map pretty good. Rahib Ali Brennan out in Bethel. I'm leaving a few out, and I apologize for doing that. But I would say that the tone of some of the mailers that we're seeing, I know one of my colleagues had a mailer that took a wedding photo and shopped it down in East Haven. It says to me that people know that our candidates are doing really well because those kind of desperate mailers really are, I think, offensive. And I know when you start taking wedding photos, doing anti-Semitic stuff, that was the Senate, to be fair. But that says to me, you know, you're losing.
So you heard it here first. The Democrats say they're going to be picking up seats, and the Republicans say they're taking control. Best of luck on election night. That was Klarides.
Thanks, Dennis.